Hello there, my name is Prasanjit. Welcome to the Duet AI Developer Playbooks. In today's video, we'll be using Duet AI Assistants to build a grocery store web application. And the beauty of this is we will be using Duet AI heavily to help us assist, build and deploy this app and deploy it on Google Cloud Platform. So with help from Duet AI, we will use cloud workstations to build this web application and deploy the applications to Cloud Run, the serverless platform that Google offers. And then we will prompt Duet AI to explain the errors in the application and provide fixes. And finally, we'll move on to develop integration tests for the application with help from Duet AI. And we'll also use Duet AI with BigQuery to understand how to load data in a table and to generate and explain queries. We'll use Duet AI with Cloud Spanner to query transaction data, and finally learn how to view application logs with the help of Duet AI and how to infer errors and troubleshoot them, all with Duet AI's help. So let's get started. Well, so I'll open up the repository which explains what our grocery application looks like. So this is the repo symbol superstore. So it is a sample grocery store web application and we can use that for this demo. It is built on React.js, Node.js. So you have this layer where the users are using web mobile, and then you have symbol superstore which has a cloud CDN, HTTPS load balancers, and underneath it you have cloud storage, Cloud Run, which runs the microservices. You have a database in Cloud Firestore, which is the product DB. You have Cloud Spanner, which is the transactions DB, and the BigQuery analytics queries go to Cloud Spanner. You have Cloud Logging, Monitoring, and Security Command Center to cover it all. And the developer uses Cloud Workstation to do the deployments. So to get started here, we come back to our Google Cloud Console. And first of all, I launch the Cloud Shell terminal window. It will take a couple of minutes to provide the terminal. So once it is up, I'll enable certain APIs that will be needed. Well, so here we have the Cloud terminal in place. So the first command would be to set the project ID variable. So that sets the project ID variable to the current project, and then I set up the signed in Google user account in an environment variable, and then I'll paste the command that will enable the Cloud AI Companion API. Once that is done successfully, we can run a few more commands to grant the necessary IAM roles to the Quick Labs user account which I am using for this lab. So once the roles are granted, we are good to use Duet AI Assistants for this project. Well, the next task that we have would be to spin up a cloud workstation. So search for cloud workstations in the search bar, and here I click on cloud workstation, and this one explains how it works, set up a configuration, IAM policies, and then create and launch cloud workstation. So here we go to the management, and you can see I have already created a cloud workstation for this lab. So it is ready and running. So the cluster is up over here. When you are doing it for the first time, you can set that up and then create a workstation configuration. So here we just fill in the basic information to spin up the workstation configuration that will be used for the cluster. And then once that is done, we can spin up the cloud workstation. So these are all default settings that I use, and put in the region zones whichever is there according to my preference, and just go on to create the configuration. Well, so we see that the configuration is coming up, and once refreshed it is ready. So now we are good to go ahead and create a workstation. So in the navigation pane we go back to click workstations and create workstation, and we provide our generic settings that are needed. So you can follow the same instructions here and do it yourself. So this will take a while, and you'll have your cloud workstation launched. Now you see this is in a stopped state, so I'll click on start and get it launched. Now for those who are uninitiated in cloud workstation, you can watch one of my other videos which explains how to set it up and what it does. So basically this is an IDE which is present on the browser, and the executions taking place on your cloud project on your VPC. So everything is secure, and the compute is being used from your cloud resources instead of from your laptop. So very secure and modern way to develop. Alright, so we have cloud workstation running now, and we are ready to work with our IDE, and we can set up the cloud code extensions and the Duet AI extension over there to work on our project. So I'll launch the cloud workstation on the browser. It'll open on a new tab and provide me the IDE. So here we are. So here we can go ahead and set up a project, and also enable the cloud code and Duet AI extensions. So first of all, I'll go into the sidebar and I'll search for cloud code. So here we have the Google Cloud Code extension, which also has Duet AI. So in my case it is already enabled. If it is not in yours, you can enable it from here, and then move on to the settings and sign into Google Cloud. Proceed to sign in, and here it gives me the URL where the key would be generated. So I just copy it and open it up in a separate tab, and I use my cloud user login, and here we have the code generated. So copy that and paste it here in the screen to complete your login into Google Cloud. So now we have cloud code authorized, and the next step would be to check whether Duet AI plugin is enabled or not. So here we go and search for Duet AI. So all these checkboxes should be ticked, and you can also type in the project, which by default would be sending request to Duet AI. So I do that. There is a prompt saying sudden error. Let me just close it and check. Alright, I just refreshed the tab. And here we are already signed in. So we are able to see the Duet AI chat screen here. So now I'll set up my terminal in order to check out the code and set up the Symbol Superstore grocery web app. So I've launched the terminal here in the IDE, and the next step would be to set project with the Google Cloud Project ID, where I'm doing this exercise. So once that is done, I'll use gcloud auth config docker command to run the docker credential helper. So let me compile that command and paste it over here. Alright, it's done. Next we can do a checkout and copy the Symbol Superstore application code. So it is present in one of the Google storage buckets available to the public, so you can use that too. So clearing the screen, so I do a Google Cloud Storage copy -r command to recursively copy the entire code. Well, so here we are. We have the Symbol Superstore code base in our cloud workstation ready. So I'll just enter into that particular folder, and on the left hand window you can see the backend and front end folders visible, and I just open up a new terminal which opens inside the Symbol Superstore. So now we'll start building the backend application. The web backend implements an inventory API that is used by the front end to fetch and upgrade products. So I do the docker build command and that starts building the Docker file for the backend application. So this will take a while, and then we'll push the Docker image that we created into the cloud repository. So this is the docker push command, and I do a docker push and the repository URL. So that is now pushing the various layers of the image. And once we run this particular image, and then it will create a running instance of the backend as a service on Cloud Run. So the next command would be to instantiate a Docker image on Cloud Run. So here's my command, that is gcloud run deploy inventory, and then -- image is equal to inventory, the name of the image, then container image URL, which port it will be open on, and that's it. So this will now trigger installation of this image on Cloud Run. It's going to take a while. Well, here we are. You can see the Cloud Run deploy command that I use in full in your screen now. So Now that the deployment is complete, I can go to the URL and check. Here we have this running. So now we will work on creating the service for the front end, and then we check both of them in action. So I go into this file, frontend.env production, and I'll have to replace it with the backend service API that I created. So now we'll build the front end, and we'll move on to the Symbol Superstore front end directory, and we'll do a npm install and npm run build. So that will help us build the front end microservice. This will take a little while, and once that is done, we'll upload the front-end web app to cloud storage bucket. So to do that, I'll just type in the cloud storage cp-r build and the path of the bucket. Well, that is uploaded now. Now we'll be able to access the front-end application on the IP address. So here we are. We have the Symbol Superstore working for us now, and we are able to navigate throughout the website. We don't see any backend product images yet, but we'll work and fix that in a while. So we are back. Now we have a folder called frontend, a backend. We go to the backend folder, go to the index.ts to fix the problem. So here we can see that this is where the /new product API endpoint goes. So we'll ask Duet AI to create an endpoint /new products that uses where the filters to retrieve only products that were added within the last 7 days and are in stock. So it gives us a code suggestion, and I take the suggestion in. So automatically we were able to create this code block based on the comment that we provided. Now that is fantastic. I mean, it helps you to code alongside a code companion, and you just have to check. So now I'll go to the user setting, and I'll just fix certain settings here which I missed out previously. So here we'll add a terminal integrated environment with about 8000 here. So that will help us in deploying this application. So I go to the backend service and rebuild it again. Well, so that has been rebuilt. So I'll go into another terminal just to check I'm getting the response or not. I'm not. So we'll go back and fix it. So here is the error that I am getting. Let's troubleshoot the errors, and of course we'll use Duet to help. So basically the error is cannot have inequality filters on multiple properties. So help me debug this Firestore client error. So here Duet AI tells me the cause of the error and how to debug it. So I'll see how we can use those suggestions to fix that. So this is where the error is. So just remove it, make these modifications. And let's do npm run start once again. The error is now gone, it seems. So here we have the API, backend API is operational. Now let's test out the /new products API. So we put /new product and we get a JSON response, which means the backend API is working fine. So the next step would be to test out the front end, and then we'll rebuild and redeploy the backend as well. So we go back to the backend, do a Docker build. We'll push the backend image into the repository, and then we'll test out the web app once again. So here we run that on Cloud Run once again, because all this while we were doing it locally. So now it is taking some time to deploy it on Cloud Run. Once that is done, we'll be able to refresh our page. Well, this is not working, so let me just close this tab and reopen. Alright, so here we are. Okay, now we have the images back, so which means the front end and back end are tightly coupled and working well. So we have the entire carousels with different products populated well, and everything is working together in sync. So that is great news. So we were able to set this up. Now let's go ahead and try out some test cases. Now I put in the prompt, help me generate an example of express.js test using Jest, which is a framework, testing framework, and I want that response in TypeScript. So here we get some code snippets which we can directly use and inject that in our code to generate and test our web app. So let's go ahead and do that. So I just copy and paste that block of code that has the test case, and then I run the test case. So here we have the response. There were some test cases which failed, some passed out of the 4, and the time taken to run those test cases. So that's great. This is how you generate test cases. I'll share all the prompts that I did with Duet AI as a link in the description, so you will get it from the repository. Well, the next thing we are going to do is to get help from Duet AI to upload data to a table in BigQuery and then construct a query that fetches data from that table. So I go to BigQuery and from there I will use the symbol store data set, and I'll select the symbol sales table. So this is your entire BigQuery link and how it looks like, BigQuery portal. And here you can see the BigQuery Studio, and here is the data set, symbol sales, and the table. So here you have it selected, and next step is to have Duet AI in place here so that we can ask questions and start chatting with it. So I'll do just that. Click on Duet AI, enable it, and here we go. Here we have the chat window open. So the first question would be, what BigQuery command can be used to upload CSV data from cloud storage to BigQuery, and we have the response here, and it gives us the command as well, so we can directly use that command and run it on Cloud Shell. So it's a BQ load command, and that will help us load the data set. So here we are, we authorize the command and it is running, and the data set is loaded here. And now to view the table schema, we'll click on schema, and here we have the table. Alright, so we'll query. Let's start from our Google Cloud Project ID, symbol sales database.symbol sales table, and limit it to 1000. So here we have the response. So in the results tab, we can view the results of the query, and that contains data from the table. So we didn't have to write the query, and we got it entirely from Duet AI. Now the next step is to generate a SQL query with the help of Duet AI. We'll generate a bit more advanced SQL queries. So we'll replace the existing query to calculate the total sales amount for the week of August 5. And here we are, we get the suggestions to do just that. And say we want to get sales for total for August 12th, then also it generates the query for that. And that's how you can ask your questions and generate SQL queries from Duet AI. It can also explain and run the query for you. It can explain the current selection, and it can tell you the intent of the SQL query. So the next thing I'm going to do is to try something with Cloud Spanner using Duet AI. A Spanner instance and database containing the sample sales transaction data has been pre-provisioned for this exercise. We are doing this in Quick Labs. So here we are, we have the Spanner dashboard, and you can see there is a transactions DB which is already created there, and clicking on that will help us to open up the symbol superstore transactions. And here we have all the transaction DB data, and this is where we can run our SQL queries. This is our SQL editor. So here we type in the queries and get our response about the transaction IDs. So let's use Duet AI to help us with this. So I'll write a prompt: where can I view the logs of the Cloud Run service called inventory in the Google Cloud Console? So we get a response that it's in the Log Explorer. So we open up the Log Explorer and we go to Cloud Run. Now if we want to filter out the logs, we can ask Duet to help us writing that filter. So let's do that. So I'll just type in a new prompt. Can you write the query? So this is the query, just copy and paste it in. So there we are, we can filter our logs using that. So that's how we use Duet AI in various steps of the way to achieve our grocery app implementation. Thank you.